Hey, are you applying to college soon and wondering how you can make your essays really stand out? If so, in this video, I'm going to talk to you about how to create a wow essay. If you're wondering who I am, my name's Brooke. I've been coaching students to help them get into college for over a decade. I also teach SAT and ACT prep. If you happen to be prepping for those tests, check out the best SAT prep course ever and the best ACT prep course ever at SupertutorTV.com. They are video-based prep courses. So if you're looking for more awesome video-based information and you want to get great scores on your tests, please check out SupertutorTV.com. We have lots of different students on our courses. It's not everybody who's just trying to get a perfect score. Some people are just trying to up their score. So definitely go check that out. You can also totally for free join our mailing list if you want to plug in to what we're doing at SupertutorTV. SupertutorTV.com/subscribe. Go join us. We will send you mail, not too much, just a little bit, and keep you in the loop on what we're doing here and what our newest videos are. Cool. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, find me there too. All right, so let's get into this. There are 10 factors that I'm going to talk about today in terms of how to get a wow essay. Not every wow essay is going to have all 10 at once. And some of them, there's probably some overlap with some of these concepts and ideas, but I'm going to try to explain them sort of in like 10 little categories to try to get at like the qualities of an essay that's just like, wow, really awesome and really great. Now, the first caveat I'm going to say is I know a lot of you guys out there are applying to colleges and not everybody's trying to go to Harvard or Stanford or Princeton or Yale, okay? So the fact is that there are thousands of universities in the United States, and the vast majority of people who apply to the vast majority of universities do not have to write a wow essay to get into college. So please do not freak out if you do not have the makings of a wow essay and think, gosh, I'm never going to get into college, okay? Because that's a lie and it's not true. So please take everything with a grain of salt, but there are two advantages that a wow essay can get you in the college admissions process. The first is that they can get you admission to extremely competitive universities where there's basically no way to get in unless you wow people in some way, because there's just way too many qualified candidates. When you got 5 or 3 or 20 people who are qualified for one slot, how do you stand out? Well, essay is a good way to stand out. The other thing that a wow essay can do is it can help your application and it can bolster an application that may be on the borderline of other universities that are less competitive. So if you're applying to less competitive universities and maybe your scores aren't as awesome or your grades aren't as awesome or you have maybe not as many activities or something like that, it can sometimes at those universities or more average universities make up for some of the things that might otherwise be missing, okay? So do not freak out if you do not have the wow essay. Now, I might also add the difference between a wow essay and a wow factor. I know we had a wow factor video a few weeks ago, and I just want to clarify that a wow factor is different because that's something that you do or that you experience before you get to the point where you're going to write your essay, okay? So that's something like life experience-wise that you have to have in order to have that wow piece. But a wow essay makes you go wow, and you don't have to necessarily have a huge wow factor to have a wow essay. Now, oftentimes they do go together, but they're not exactly the same thing. So first of all, the first thing that I'm gonna say is like a wow essay usually says a lot with a little, meaning you only have one page maybe for your personal statement, for your common application or your coalition application, personal statement, or whatever it is that you're writing. But the idea is that you want to say a lot about yourself using a single story or a single essay. That's kind of the accomplishment of a wow essay. What I like to say is that a wow essay is like, it's like skipping a little rock across the lake of your life and hitting lots of lily pads. So I want this essay to show lots of different things to colleges that are going to help colleges want to have you come to their school. So first, the first thing about a wow essay, and this might be obvious, it impresses me. Okay, so you want to impress us with you. Now, impressing us can be hard because I know a lot of you guys think to impress me, you have to show off or you have to brag or something like that. But you've got to really watch your tone. You don't want to come off as like totally pompous and full of yourself and entitled, right? Now, there's lots of different ways to impress me, and the only way to impress me is not just by having some wow experience. Now, that can be true. You can impress me for your wow experience. You can be impressive because you do things most 17-year-olds don't do, or something from my wow factor list, any of those, right? But you can also be impressive just because you have a really interesting and mature point of view. You might be able to say something in a way that makes me go, huh, or wow, or like, that's so insightful, or you really have like an interesting perspective and you've articulated something in this world that I know is true and that I've recognized and that I see, but I never quite put into words, but you put it into words and it's a little bit magical and I get the chills and I go, wow, that was really awesome. Sometimes this will come from the wow factor, okay? but it can also come from really awesome writing. So there you go, impress me. Number 2, it shows me that you're a person who values excellence. And what I mean by that, it means that you're an achiever in some way, or it shows that you've achieved something that makes me go, huh, wow, that's kind of cool, right? Again, this might overlap a little bit with number 1, but I often get essays that erroneously kind of focus only on the excellence part, right? Like maybe you're student council president, and so to me, the essay that's the wow essay mentions that you're student council president. Maybe it involves that role in some way, but it's a totally other story that has a completely different focus. But that's just a side note that you happen to be student council president or body president or whatever. So if you have things that are impressive and they work into the storyline in some way, but they're not the focal point, oftentimes that's like a good way to work the excellence angle in. You don't want to act like you're better than everyone else. You want to explain how you accomplish things. I don't need your commentary or your evaluation. Just tell me what happened. And if it's impressive and if it's excellent and if it's awesome, like we're going to see that on the page. Number 3, it's a story that draws me in. Stories are one of the most powerful tools that we have as human beings to connect with each other. Arguably, it's stories that make human beings different from other animals, from robots, from all these things, because we tell stories to each other. And I will say that the majority of awesome essays really capitalize on the power of narrative and the power of story to connect. So find your best stories. Think about what are the stories of my life that I share with people, right? And start there and then say, okay, what does that story show about me? How is that going to be a good message to a college? Or like, how can I build around that? You know, sometimes if you start with a story and then figure out the rest, that could be a good way to start writing, okay? Number 4, the next thing that you have to understand is that everything that we read into your story, that it should be something that shows or reveals something good about you. You've got to really be careful when you're telling stories, because every choice you make and every action you take is read as evidence of who you are and what kind of person you are. And what I think a lot of students don't realize is as they tell stories, they see a part of the story that achieves what they want it to achieve, or that tells the story that they want it to tell, or that when they interpret it, that says what they want it to say. But what they don't realize is the lead up to that part of the story might have some other connotations or some other implications that they never thought about. Right? For example, I've had students who were homeschooled and they might write an essay about how they weren't feeling like they could handle a traditional school because it was really boring and just being in class all day with a bunch of students felt really limiting. And so they wanted to be homeschooled so that they could have a more flexible curriculum, because traditional school with like a teacher and a class and having to sit at a desk all day was really boring for them. You've got to think about what's the connotation of that. Well, they think, oh, well, this is saying that like I have a sense of adventure, and so like my interest in homeschooling was like really cool because I think outside the box and I'm a creative person. Yes, but you also just said, I don't like traditional school. Guess what you're applying to? College. Guess what you're going to do in college? Sit in a room, in a desk with a bunch of teachers all day and learn. Right? So you've got to think about the implications of like what is in your story and what are the connotations and what am I going to read into with each piece of the story. So a wow essay is constructed in a way that as I read into each detail, everything I get is good and positive and warm and fuzzy and makes me like you more. Number 5, it highlights personal qualities that make you you and show your awesomeness. You have a personality. You are special. You are unique. You have something to offer the world that not everybody has. And that's really cool. And this is part of your wow. Part of your wow is how are you awesome, right? I had a student the other weekend who came in with his essay, and I read through his whole essay and I highlighted all the lines where he felt like I got to know him better. And I literally had 2 very short sentences out of an entire 650-word essay. So you've got to make sure that you show your personality. Who are you? How do you think? If you can get your personality across on the page and I get to know you better, that makes me understand you, that makes me like you more, and that's the goal, right? Okay, number 6, it reveals your values. Some of the best essays I've seen have a deeper soul to them. They show me what people value. They show me that a student has a deep direction, that their life choices are motivated by something that's real and authentic and that matters, right? They're not just gliding on this sort of superficial, like, I want to major in economics. Economics is a force that runs our everyday lives, and it's great. And I took 5 classes in economics, and then I decided I really liked economics, and so I would like to do economics. That's all nice and great. It's very typical, right? But I want to know what motivates your life choices, what drives you, what gives you intention and direction. I don't just want to know what you want to do. I want to know why you want to do it, right? That being said, I have two values that do not come off terribly well in essays. One is being dedicated, and the other is being hardworking. Anyone who's applying to very competitive colleges is usually dedicated and hardworking. That's what your grades tell me. Your grades tell me if you're dedicated and hardworking, or your test scores if they happen to be good. And if they're not great, then your grades are what's going to tell me whether you're dedicated and hardworking. Now, obviously, if your grades don't reflect that you're dedicated and hardworking, or there's some other story to tell there, then maybe you're going to write an additional information essay and explain that at some point. But just be careful with those kind of two topics, because those are very typical, and like that's what grades are about. So for the most part, an essay about that is not going to be super standout. Okay, moving on. Number 7, vision. Difference between vision and values, okay? Values are what drive you to do things. Vision is sort of like your eye on the future. Vision is the idea that you want to make an impact in your world. It's also the idea that the way that you think transcends the bubble that is your high school or is your horizon, right? It means if you've had a rough life, you see beyond that rough life, you see potential, you see opportunity, you see things beyond where you are right now, right? It means if you're in this little high school bubble and like everything's like in high school land, that you see beyond the high school bubble, that you see, you know what, this is all I've been able to experience so far, but boom, if only I could get on that other side. I want to make an impact in this way and in that way, right? So far, yeah, I made some peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for the homeless people, and that was cool and that was nice. But I want to try to solve systemic problems of urban poverty, and that's why I want to do this urban studies major at your college, right? Whatever it is that's driving you, or what your vision is, or what your intention is, people want to know that you are going to go out and change the world. And that doesn't happen by accident. It happens because people have an intention and because they have a vision. So if you can show me your vision, awesome. What I love about teenagers is that you guys have so much hope and optimism for the future, because you haven't written the future yet, and you haven't been jaded and trodden down by life itself and by experiences that are going to quash your optimism. And so you guys dream big, and it's really awesome. And if you can show me some of that awesome, big dreaming kind of energy, that can also help your application, and that can help me get excited about who you are and where you're going. Number 8, it captures the zeitgeist. Zeitgeist. What is zeitgeist? Some of you might wonder. Zeitgeist is the spirit of the times. It's what's going on right now. If you have your hand or your finger on the pulse of our current sort of cultural waves that are going on, and you can contextualize your story into that story, that can make me go, wow, because I understand how you understand that your life is a part of this bigger narrative that is a narrative that we're all living, and the world that we all live in. So that could mean, you know, you tell a story about cyberbullying. Maybe you write your essay on something like the Me Too movement, or maybe you write it about gender equality, or maybe you write it about some other issue on immigration, or some other issue that's going on in our society, and you have a perspective on that, and you do it in a way that doesn't offend people who might be on a politically opposite side from you. But it captures sort of this zeitgeist of the era of things that matter, and where we're going, and what matters to us, and why as a society. And you connect your individual story with sort of the societal story in some way. And if you can do that and you can bridge the gap, that creates this complexity that I think can be really impressive. So there's another one. It captures the zeitgeist. Number 9, it offers a nuanced and complex understanding of life and the world. It reveals a strong ability to analyze and find patterns in your life or personal experiences in the world around you. And this might be proving the power of your intellect. One of the checkboxes that I often like to check off if I have students applying to like top 5 or top 10 schools is they need to prove that they're intellectual in some way. But this kind of complex understanding can also be insights into human nature or behavior. It's a perspective that makes me nod along and go, wow, yeah, I hear what you're saying, or oh yeah, that's so smart, or that's so interesting, right? It does so in a way that makes me feel like I've learned something from your essay. If I walk away from your essay and I feel like you taught me something about life, wow, that's really cool. Sometimes I challenge my students and I say, don't just answer the question like you're writing an essay. Try to write what someone would write for an op-ed if you were writing for the Atlantic Monthly or for the New York Times or for the Huffington Post, right? What's the kind of article that says something, that reaches out to people, that's worth talking about, that says something, that has a point of view, that puts a perspective out in the world, that it could be a standalone thing that people would value reading whether you were applying to college or not, right? Did you ever think about that? That you could write something that like had a point of view and like said something that was worth saying? So if you can go deep and you can go long and you can get us there intellectually, or even from like human nature kind of way, that can be a really awesome essay. Okay, number 10, last one. It doesn't just tell me that you're a certain way or a certain person or certain ideas. It takes me on the journey with you. It makes me feel how you feel, and it provokes empathy. One of the biggest mistakes that I see students make is that when you guys tell stories, you summarize and you don't actually bring me with you on the story journey. Emotional appeal is one of the most powerful ways that we can get other people on our side. But I think a lot of people, when you answer your college essay questions, you don't think about emotions, you're just thinking about logic. You're just like, what's the question they asked? So I'm going to answer that. Oh, they want to know about school. You think like schools are so academic, but the American college system, they want you to be emotional sometimes and realize that you're talking to a human being. And what's more compelling than emotions? Part of this also is taking me with you on your journey. If you're going to tell a story about something that you did that you feel changed your life, take me with you at each point. When do you make a decision? What was going through your mind when you did something and it didn't work? How did you think through, oh, this is how I changed my strategy, right? And then I decided, I thought, oh, this, yeah. Okay, I'm going to do that. And then you tried that, right? But give me the whole play-by-play in your brain. Take me with you. I want to be on this journey with you, and I want to feel. Can you help make me feel? Can you get me excited when you're excited? That's part of what creates a wow essay, because you connect with your reader. And that's one of the most fundamental things that you can do. So I realize that a lot of these tips are kind of abstract and vague, and that can be hard to wrap your brain around. But I hope at least that some of these ideas resonate with you guys, and that you kind of understand the goal of where you want your essay to go. I hope you guys found this helpful. If so, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't yet. And good luck with writing those essays. And I will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.